There are very few things that are more provocative than talking about how responsive a new parent should be to a crying baby, especially when that baby is so young that they can't move themselves around, where they have to cry for our attention. Should we go to them straight away and pick them up? Should we let them cry it out, have a bit of a yell, a bit of a scream before we pick them up? Every now and again, sadly, I hear about some parents who literally just let their babies cry because they apparently have to learn. I'm talking about 3, 4, 5, even 6-month-old children, which does concern me a bit. New research has just been published, which sheds a little bit of light on maternal responsiveness to infant distress. This is a brand new study that has been published in Developmental Psychology. And today we talk about how maternal responses are a key factor in shaping early development. Even if your kids are a bit older, this is one of those things that everybody has an opinion about. Can't wait to tell you about this study. It's coming up next on the Happy Families podcast. G'day, this is the Happy Families podcast. Welcome. Thanks so much for joining us. We love having you along. My name's Dr. Justin Coulson. I'm here with my wife, mum to our 6 kids who have made a lot of noise over the years and required a high level of both maternal and paternal responsiveness. 6 kids, author of 10 books, and the co-host and parenting expert on Channel 9's hit TV show Parental Guidance. Kylie, today we're stepping into some research so that we can talk about how parental, or specifically maternal responsiveness, impacts children's socio-emotional development, their ability to regulate their emotions. I love it when I get to step into the science and talk about what we're discovering with the latest research.
So I'd like to say I'm curious, but I'm not really. You just pay me to ask the questions. What?
You can't say that.
What research have you got for us today?
You have big opinions on this. I don't believe for a second that you're not interested in this, because whenever we talk about parents being responsive to their crying children, you have something to say.
Oh, are we talking about that today?
That's the content. Did you not listen to the whole intro that I did? Where you were just dozing while I
might have been
recording this podcast? I
might have been.
Gosh, okay. All right, let me step through it. I originally found this on the British Psychological Society's website. They have a publication called The Psychologist, and this is what they say. If you have a baby and they start crying, what should you do? Countless books on parenthood offer conflicting advice. And I'm going to jump in on what they've said here. For example, there's a very, very popular book out there called Save Our Sleep that's all about teaching kids to regulate themselves through controlled crying, right? Which is not exactly where we tend to point ourselves here. And then there are other books that are all about attachment and holding that baby endlessly. And then there are
co-sleeping,
yeah. And then there's people who say, well, hang on, surely there's a middle ground, because I can't be continually, endlessly, never ceasingly attached to my child. What the research tells us is that the way we react to a young child's distress can affect its development. And generally speaking, what we think happens in the data is that children of more responsive parents generally fare better. So, the vast majority of work, according to the BPS and according to the researchers in this paper, most of the research here has been done in North America and Europe, but one recent meta-analysis showed that only 2% of studies on this particular topic include samples from Africa and South America. I mean, it's just a really... have you heard of the acronym WEIRD? I've got a book on my bookshelf somewhere here above us called The Weirdest People in the World.
I have seen the book, but I haven't heard of the acronym.
Okay, it's under H for Heinrich. Joe Heinrich wrote it from Harvard. And WEIRD stands for Western, Educated, Industrialized, Rich and Democratic. Okay, so all of the research on how mothers' responsiveness to an infant's distress come from WEIRD nations, Western, Educated, Industrialized, Rich and Democratic nations. Therefore, it's really hard for us to know exactly what's going on in other cultures and whether or not we're doing it right. Because we've been doing it the way we're doing it. Well, I mean, there's been development and change, but we've been doing it the way we're doing it for a long time. So Carl Overeden at Durham University and colleagues did a cross-cultural investigation of maternal responsiveness on a total of 82 pairs of mothers and babies. One group was in the UK, another group in Uganda. And it was really interesting to me what the research showed. So basically, you've got these UK mums. They're living in and around the city of York. Pretty standard, small nuclear households, high levels of maternal education, reasonable socioeconomic situations. And then you've got the Ugandan mums. They're living in subsistence farming communities, lots of generations living together, very, very low levels of maternal education. Basically, the mum and the child are being videoed in their naturalistic setting, doing everyday things like bathing and feeding and playing and resting when the kids are 3 months old, and then again when they're 6 months old. And then the videos are being viewed, and the episodes of the children being distressed, like expressing by crying and whimpering and shrieking and doing by being fussy, because that's all they can do at 3 and 6 months old. They can just vocalize. That's about it. How long did it take for mum to respond? And what kind of response did mum give? Like, did she pick the baby up? Did she sing a song? Did she talk? Did she breastfeed? And then how long it took for the baby to settle. So just those 3 things. How long did it take to respond? What was the response? And how long until the baby settled again?
So I already have so many questions.
Yeah.
Like, how a parent responds
Yep.
to those distressful moments. Like, was the mother distressed because the child was distressed? Was the mother suffering from postnatal depression and that impacted her capacity to respond? Was she distracted when she was like, there are so many things that would, in my mind, impact the way the child receives that interaction.
Was mum watching Netflix when the child started to cry? That kind of thing. Yeah. So I mean, we've got limited information around this. And one of the challenges with science is you can only look at so many variables before everything gets so noisy and you can't really tease things apart. So I can't answer those questions particularly well at all. But here's what I can tell you. I can tell you what the analysis showed.
What did it show?
It showed that the mothers in the UK were faster to respond to their baby's distress than the Ugandan mothers.
That's curious to me.
So this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking gentle parenting, helicopter parenting, really responsive parenting. Mums in the UK have been taught that when your child is distressed, you need to go to them as fast as you can. And that's something that I've generally advocated as well. Like, if your child needs you, then give them attention, pick them up, help them out. That seemed like a reasonable thing. And so I kind of was surprised, because I would imagine that homes in the UK would be bigger and therefore it would take longer to get to the child.
Yeah, I'm thinking about Ugandan mums. They often will wear their babies. So they've actually got their babies on them.
So in this case, no. The UK mums got to their baby when the baby was distressed faster. But here's what's really interesting. The Ugandan babies, even though mum got to them more slowly, soothed more quickly. In fact, the British babies took longer than the Ugandan babies to recover from their distress, regardless of how fast or slow mum was. So British mums on average are faster, although some of them clearly took a bit longer. But regardless of how long mum takes to get to you, the Ugandan babies soothed faster than the British babies. Fascinating.
Did they find anything else?
They're probably the main things. There's probably one other thing to emphasise, and that was the Ugandan mothers were, on average, not only slower to respond, but more likely than the UK mums to not actively respond to every instance of distress. So sometimes the baby would cry or whimper or show some sign of distress, and the Ugandan mum would shrug their shoulders and go, "I'll wait. I'm going to see if this turns into something," or if they're just fussing right now and they're going to sort themselves out, which I think is really, really interesting. And the researchers hypothesized that maybe over time that slightly delayed response or instances of not responding at all might actually encourage the Ugandan babies to develop more effective self-regulation techniques. Which kind of, that ties in with the whole, you can inoculate somebody by allowing them to go through a little bit of hardship. It's like the whole peanut thing, right? Like, give your kids a little bit of peanut and they're less likely to develop the peanut allergy. Keep them away from peanut, they're more likely to develop the peanut allergy. So it might be the same here. I will go to my child if they're really distressed, but if they're only a little bit distressed, I'm going to see if that's tolerable for them and go from there. Like, maybe they need me, maybe they don't. I'm going to give it some time. Anyway, I know you've got a lot of questions. You're looking at me puzzled, and I know you've got some opinions. I can tell from the look on your face. So after the break, what we do know, because this study is really limited in a lot of ways, what we do know about what kids need, and what we found is we've raised our 6 kids when they've been emotionally distressed in those first 3 to 6 months of being babies. We're back. This is the Happy Families podcast. Kylie, you're still looking puzzled. You've got your hands tapping your chin, your fingers drumming on your chin like you need some answers. What's going through your mind as you listen to this recap of a really fascinating study in developmental psychology?
Fascinating is a very big word, but...
Okay, well, you look interested and intrigued. And when we talk about research, sometimes you just look asleep. So I'm taking this as a win.
I'm thinking about our personal experience and marrying it up to the findings that they've found. And I think the thing that stands out to me is that it would seem, based on the findings of this particular study, that being responsive is valuable to our children's well-being, but maybe being over-responsive is not.
Yeah, I like that.
And as we've gone through our parenting with each of our children,
That kind of fits with our experience, doesn't it?
It really does. I think the level of distress matters. You know, when we've had older children in the house, they're so excited. And as soon as they hear the baby murmur,
They're like, the baby's awake.
awake. We've got to go.
The baby needs us.
And they're, they pounce on it. Whereas over time, what we've learned is that sometimes our baby will make a little cry and we'll race to them and we can't settle them at all. And over time, we kind of realize that if we just let them make that little cry and then give it a little bit of time, we're slower to respond. More times than not, that's actually allowed them to self-soothe and settle themselves. However, there have been times where they've given a little cry, we haven't been responsive, and it's escalated. And at that point, there's a turning point where we go, okay, this is no longer going to work. They're not going to self-soothe on their own. They actually need some intervention. They need us. And we've been able to respond in that way. And I found that as a parent, once I got to a place where I recognized I didn't have to respond to every noise.
It reduces your anxiety, doesn't it?
It did.
Yes.
It reduced it so much. And so when I did respond, I was already calmer because I wasn't on edge about every noise I heard in the night. And it allowed our babies to actually have a little cry because they've just moved. They've got themselves unsettled. They've unwrapped themselves or something. They've whacked themselves in the face because they're still in that startle mode. And they've been able to put themselves back to sleep. And it might only be half an hour or an hour that you get extra, but they've done it. And then when you come to them when they're really distressed, they know that you're there because you've been responsive at the most important time.
And they settle into you because of that.
That's right.
Yeah. Voice of experience. 6 daughters. We've been through it. We've been through it a lot. So, and I think you've summarised pretty well what we discovered. It took us a long time to figure it all out. But
I think the other thing that's really important to understand is just emotions are catchy.
Yeah.
They're catchy. If we walk into the room and our emotions are heightened.
If we're agitated, yeah.
Our baby catches that.
Yeah.
And you're not going to settle them no matter how much you try.
Yeah, so those UK mums, maybe they're living more stressful lives because they are educated and they've been at work and they're stressed out and there's so much going on and they're worried about the bills and that sort of thing. I mean, maybe I'm romanticising and getting it completely wrong, but if the subsistence farming communities in Uganda, my sense is that they would experience less stress, less anxiety, less depression. I think that it's more just, well, I don't know. Maybe I'm being far too white and colonial and that sort of thing. But my sense is that it's a more relaxing way of living, and that contagion is key.
There was a TikTok trend not so long ago where people would hold their babies and they would kind of slap up against a door as though the baby had been hit. And in one instance, they'd be like, "Oh!" and they'd be all shocked and look at the baby with fear.
Yeah.
And the baby would burst into tears. The
Right.
baby was completely cocooned, didn't get touched at all in that interaction.
The parent reaction,
But the parents'
set them off.
response, yes.
Yeah.
As opposed to parents who made the same noise or the same action
Yep.
and then laughed with their baby and the baby was oblivious. And I think it's so indicative of what happens when our emotions are heightened. We come home after a bad day, at work and we're stressed and stretched and just exhausted. And our kids seem to be more ratty than normal. And it actually has very little to do with them and everything to do with what we've brought into the home.
Yeah, okay. I really love that input, that feedback. I've also noticed that because our daughter and son-in-law have that kind of laughter whenever something bad happens to their daughter, she's actually got a great sense of humour and she doesn't seem to get
She's
too
a bit of
fazed.
a brute. She just kind of
doesn't get
falls
fazed by
over,
anything. Gets
scrapes,
up, has a chuckle.
Yeah, rubs
Unless-
herself clean and then gets on with it.
Unless it's a bad one, but fortunately not too many of those. Hey, we really hope this has given you some food for thought and highlighted just how sometimes we overcomplicate the whole parenting thing. Hopefully the ideas that we've shared with you can help you or your kids or somebody that you know who's just got a brand new baby to navigate those tricky times a little bit better. The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Coulson from Bridge Media. Mim Hammonds provides research, admin, and a whole lot of other support. And if you'd like more info to make your family happier, especially with those young kids, check out my books for dummies. They're available online and they can give you so much useful information for those first couple of years of life. Those and a whole lot of other resources are available at happyfamilies.com.au.